He used to be a jaguar. When he was young, he took the magic around him, the dappled forest moonlight, the rich smell of earth and the plants around him after the rain, the poetry of the leap and the kill. He took it all for granted. Because of course he did. He was young and beautiful and a prince of the forest. What fascinated him were the rare glimpses he had of people, the effortless, musical way they spoke to each other, the way that they changed the world around them as easily and as inevitably as breathing, the strange clothes that they wore, and the bell-like sound of their laughter. So he became one. He used the magic of the forest and the strength of his will to become one of these frustrating, beguiling, magical men. The other jaguars did not approve. It wasn't their way to actually tell each other anything. There was no need. But their disappointment was clear in the way the furs on their hackles would rise and they would snort as they looked away. Jaguars are mostly solitary, though, and since he was leaving the forest to learn about the world of men, their opinions didn't really matter to him very much. At first, the villages and cities full of people were every bit as magical as the forest had been. Miracles like roads and buildings and dancing filled him with wonder. Human emotions were a revelation. Animals of the forest didn't celebrate or hate or mourn in the same way that these new creatures did. Even boredom was astounding, so utterly foreign to anything the young prince had ever experienced. Everything was different, except, perhaps, for fear. Fear was universal, although he rarely felt it himself. Ultimately, though, he discovered that humans were not as interesting as they thought they were. The weight of their importance was mostly a story that they told to each other. It was a story of wonder and weight, one that he still loved after all these years, but ultimately just another story. And these women and men were so good at telling stories. That still filled him with admiration and love. Now he spends most of his days dressed in a white linen suit, his throat and his chest open to the wind, sitting on the beach, drinking cachaça and watching the waves. From time to time, beach cats will come to him and offer their obeisance, bringing him gifts of lizards or small birds, which he accepts with gravity and gratitude before offering them to the waves. He could, theoretically, go back to his life in the forest, but he finds that he can't find it in himself to give this up. The sun and the alcohol and the distant sounds of samba music and the breeze. It is perfect in a way that has become part of him. So he sits and sips and watches the waves. Today we're going to make a caipirinha. It's the national cocktail of Brazil, and takes 3 and only 3 ingredients. 4 if you count ice. Okay, so cut up a lime. Cut. And put it in a cocktail shaker. There you go. You can do this. Okay. And add 2 teaspoons of sugar, regular white table sugar. 1. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Okay. Now the secret to this is muddling. You're going to muddle the heck out of this. The idea here is that you're just going to pound this sugar and the lime together until the lime has given up everything it has to give. In my particular case, I like to use the pestle from a mortar and pestle, and here I am, squooshing. In the beginning, I tried pounding, but actual pounding will start splashing lime juice all over the place. The cool thing about this is that the sugar, it's a lot like salt, is in that it's hydrophilic. It wants to draw liquid to itself, and the lime is probably, I'm going to guess, like 65% liquid, lime juice. So we're just squooshing and squooshing. I set my kitchen digital assistant to 90 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but a minute and a half of solid squooshing, solid muddling is going to take actually more muscle power than you think it is. You can see me switching hands here. So this cocktail, caipirinha, it calls for a particular alcohol called cachaça, which is like a second cousin to rum. It's made from sugarcane, like rum is, but instead of fermenting the molasses, like they do for rum, they ferment the raw cane juice. And it produces this very funky, I mean, not overly funky, not ripe cheese funky, but funky, kind of sour, kind of sweet alcohol that the Brazilians just really love. Okay, we've pulverized our limes, and, let's add some ice because, we're not savages. And you want, I don't know, 4 or 5 ice cubes, enough to fill a rocks glass. And lastly, 2 ounces of cachaça. I've tried a bunch of different ones. Well, I'm in the process of trying a lot of different ones. There's not a big Brazilian community where I live, but if there is where you live, any liquor store will have several to choose from. And this was recommended by the guy behind the counter who looks like he's familiar with cachaça. All right, so remember, 1 lime, 2 spoonfuls of sugar, 2 ounces of cachaça. You seat the shaker, that means slapping it down, and you shake it. You want it to know who's boss here. You're not gonna shake it forever. You're not trying to do anything fancy. Just when it starts to feel cold, it's a pretty good sign. And pour the whole thing, ice and spent limes and everything, into a rocks glass. And that is a caipirinha. That's what every Brazilian wants to have. It is so delicious that I took it off screen here to try it. Wait a second. Let's try that again. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. So you get a mixture of sweet and sour and fruity and funky, and it's exactly what you hope a cocktail is going to be.